In this video, we will talk about the circle of competence. This is a concept that is very important in investing. You only want to invest in companies, businesses that are inside your circle of competence, circle of understanding, so you can reduce the errors, reduce the number of mistakes. It's a principle inspired by Warren Buffett and very important. And this video is inspired by this great comment from Polo Mono that says, what's the most effective way to build a strong, practical circle of competence as an individual investor, especially when I want to focus only on industries or businesses I can truly understand deeply, like Buffett recommends? Or how do I identify what I already understand well enough to invest in, and how do I systematically expand that circle over time? Great point. In case this is your first video from this channel, welcome. My name is Christophe Nour. I've been investing in the stock market for almost a decade now, and I have achieved a performance of 25% per year, only staying inside my circle of competence. This is pretty important, and for this, I need to draw. I need to draw because in the stock market, the beauty of public markets is that you have 50,000 stocks in the universe. You have a lot of stocks, you have a lot of opportunities everywhere. Let me put a U for universe. And how do you select the best stocks in your portfolio? You want to have a pretty concentrated portfolio. You don't want to diversify too much. How do you select what is inside your circle of competence, the best opportunities? Well, you have to start somewhere, right? And do you see this big circle? Yes. And now do you see this small circle? I'm not sure. You have this tiny circle at the middle of this white page. And if I just zoom in, you have a circle with a C. It's a C for customer. So I want to start this video by talking about companies that you are really familiar with, because you already are a customer of these companies. So how do you know where to start for your circle of competence? Start with the companies you are already using. For example, you may have an iPhone, so you are an Apple customer. You may use Spotify to listen to some music, to some podcasts. You are a Spotify user. To some extent, if you've been an iPhone user, an Apple customer for 10 years in a row, you kind of know how Apple works. You kind of know the kind of margins they have. You kind of know the kind of pricing power they have. Every year, the price for an iPhone goes up. Every year, they deliver new models that don't change a lot, actually. And that's part of the strategy, to be sticky, to not have a big change every year. You know what to buy. You know what you buy when you buy an iPhone. A relatively good phone at an expensive price compared to the other phones in the market. But so be it. The ecosystem is in. And for all the iPhone users, I suspect you are all a victim of this ecosystem thing. This is a MacBook Pro. This is an iPhone. I have another MacBook in my house. So the whole ecosystem is here. I'm an Apple customer and I will continue to be an Apple customer. Okay, so starting with the companies you're already using. You're already a client, a customer. And actually, when you talk about expanding your circle of competence, maybe the video could stop here. Maybe you don't need to expand your circle of competence. You can only invest in companies that you know very well because you are a customer. That could be it. You can invest your whole life in companies you already know. For example, if you use toothpaste, you know Colgate-Palmolive. This is a publicly listed market company, and you can invest in the stock. You can invest in Coca-Cola. You can invest in Spotify, Apple. If you have a specific car, you can check the stock, the company of this car, and that could be it. I'm sure you will find dozens and dozens of companies that you are using on your daily life that you know very well. You use them every day, and you can invest in them.
By the way, if you're looking for a complete framework to analyze stocks and build a strong portfolio, I have a coaching program. More on that at the end of the video.
I have another anecdote for you. you have an investor that says, I only want to invest in companies that screwed me over. I only want to invest in companies that increased their prices, but I had no choice, so I had to pay more. An example he had was Microsoft. For example, if you are a company, you have this enterprise back office for all your employees, and you use Excel. You have all your filings on documents on the cloud, all your Excel, thousands and thousands of Excel files on a big cloud. What if Microsoft comes to you January 1st and says that they want to increase their prices by 20%? What will you do? Move to Google Sheet? I don't think so. What will you do? Move to a free template from Apple? I don't think so. You want to stay within the Microsoft ecosystem. You want to stay within the Excel ecosystem. So you will pay more. And this successful investor only invested in companies that screwed him over, that could increase their prices, and you have no choice but to pay. Or you will have a lot of friction to your business, a lot of struggles, and you don't want this. Another example is cybersecurity companies that, you've been relying on a specific cybersecurity company. If they come to you January 1st and they say, we want to increase our prices by 20%, what will you do? Change your cybersecurity provider? So that means you switch your data from one cybersecurity provider to another one. What if you have a leakage of information? What if you have a data problem with this information? That adds a lot of friction, unnecessary risk. You have to train your IT guys again to learn how to use the new system with the new cybersecurity system. You have to change the hardware, you have to change the software. That will cost you a lot of time, a lot of money. You can have a lot of problem. That's a lot of unnecessary problems. It's just better to pay 15% more, 20% more. So if you only invest in companies that you are using on your daily life, that screwed you over because of price gouging, this is a good start. Actually, investing can be that simple if you think this way. Just spot a few companies like this. Visa, MasterCard could be the same. Moody's can have the same impact. MSCI can be in the same situation. Ferrari would be the same situation. Ferrari can increase their prices by 10% per year, and clients will not care. They will just pay, gladly pay. Actually, Ferrari, they have the best kind of customers because they will be very happy to pay up, to be in this inner circle of highly privileged people, and it's a social status. So they want to pay more. It's like Hermes, the French Hermes bags. It's a luxury to pay a very expensive bag. So it's part of social status, and people will gladly pay more. You can only invest in 10 companies like this and be over with your circle of competence. Now, your question was, how do you use the circle of competence in a practical way? How do you build a strong practical circle of competence as an investor? And how do you invest in companies you understand truly? You truly understand, okay? Life will go on. You will learn more. This is very helpful if you are a learning machine. And your circle of competence may extend. First, I started with this point. Companies you're familiar with, companies that you know because this is inside your circle of competence. Now let me create another circle here about your job. J for job. Imagine if you are a software engineer, you know more about software companies than 99% of people. If you are working in the lawn mower industry, you know more about lawn mowers than 99% of people. Depending on your job, you have many years of experience. You know how it goes. You know if this business is profitable. You know who are the leaders. You know how the industry is shifting. You know if the industry is drastically changing over time, or is it that simple? For example, in the funeral business, nothing is changing. You have 3 key businesses, I would say, in the funeral industry. Nothing is changing. For the past 20 years, 30 years, no big change, actually. The business model is still the same. They are profitable. growing. Nobody wants to disrupt the funeral business, so you don't have a lot of capex. You don't need a lot of change to be profitable here. So if you are in this industry, you know who is the most profitable one. Okay, so first, customers. Secondly, your job. After this, I imagine if you are watching this video, you are a curious person. You may get interested in other industries depending on your curiosity. I'm putting a C for curiosity. Maybe you are reading some books about chips, about AI, about tech, about data center build-outs. This is where the circle can expand over time. It may take some years to develop this third circle of curiosity. I would say the most important ones when it comes to circle of competence are 1, customers, 2, the job, what is your profession. After this, it's more vague, I would say. It's about your curiosity. For example, I'm French, so I know the companies in France quite well. And I was looking at FICO today, Fair Isaac, the FICO score mortgage origination industry in the US. I'm not based from the US. I've been in the US many times, but I never had a FICO score, right? But I talk to a lot of people that know this company, know the FICO score. I've read a lot of things. I've been a shareholder of FICO in the past. I've been following the industry for many years now. So this is falling into this third category. Following your curiosity and you want to understand the business model pretty well. A key tip, a very good tip I have to know if something is inside your circle of competence is if you own a stock and the stock goes down by 50%, do you know why? Would you be able to, in simple words, would you be able to say why the stock is down? For example, you can have meta platforms, Facebook that dropped in 2022. Many reasons why it went down. You had the TikTok threat, you had the metaverse, and Mark Zuckerberg was burning cash. You had a lot of complacency. You had a complete shift in mindset. You had the ATT problem. You had the advertising. You have at the same time the recession in 2022 in the marketing department. Many things that went south for meta platforms that were temporary. So I was investing heavily in meta platforms at the time and buying heavily when meta platform was going down because I knew why the stock was going down. Okay. What about Bitcoin? Do you know why Bitcoin is going down by 50%? For me personally, I'm saying personally, not for everybody, right? For me personally, I don't know. If Bitcoin crashes, if the Bitcoin price crashes for some reason, I will not be able to tell you why. So Bitcoin is not inside my circle of competence. It's very easy. So now ask yourself, look at your portfolio, look at your positions, and ask, if something is dropping, would I be able to tell you why? The 5 key reasons why this stock is dropping by 50%. If you don't know the reasons why stocks are dropping, it means you don't fully understand the position. It means you don't fully understand the company. It is not inside your circle of competence. And I'm sure that if you do this exercise and you are not sure about why the stock is dropping, you may reconsider being a shareholder of your companies. Maybe you don't deserve to be a shareholder of this company because you don't understand the company very well. Okay. Next point on this comment. I want to focus only on industries or businesses I can truly understand deeply, like Buffett recommends. Yeah, actually now with the LLMs, you can ask ChatGPT to come up with a quiz of understanding the business. You ask ChatGPT, I want to test my knowledge, my understanding. Please generate a quiz and an MCQ, for example, and I will be able to tell you the answers. And if you fail at this custom MCQ, it means you don't really understand the company. Okay. How do I identify what I already understand well enough to invest in? Well, if you know if the stock is dropping, that's a good way. If you've been a customer for a while, it's another way of knowing if you really understand the company. And how do I systematically expand that circle over time? Yeah, that's a cheat code you want, right? You want a magic formula. I'm sorry to tell you that the magic formula doesn't exist in investing. You can't systematically expand that circle over time. You had Lilu, the Chinese Warren Buffett, that said you need years to expand your circle of competence to certain industries. You can't do it systematically in a couple of weeks. It's impossible. It's impossible. I've been learning a lot about FICO, this industry, and I'm continuing to learn a lot about this industry. So now it is inside my circle of competence, and I know how to spot these trends. But I needed some years before fully understanding this. So if you think you can expand your circle of competence because you've read an article, I'm sorry to tell you this, but it's a little bit too early. It will take more years. How to get more information? Well, you can read the Substacks, you can watch YouTube videos, you can read books, you can go back and forth with ChatGPT right now, ask questions, expand your circle of competence. Reading 3 books about an industry is more than enough sometimes because the industry is simple. If the industry is very simple, think of the lawnmower industry, for example, a very simple industry to understand. But you have other industries that are very hard to understand, like the cheap manufacturing business. Very hard, very hard. You had an anecdote about Monish Pabrai that was talking about John Arriega. John Arriega is a businessman about real estate, and John Arriega focused on a few streets, a few acres in the same city, and he did not want to increase his circle of competence, expand his circle of competence. He was into real estate, bought houses, apartments for students in the same neighborhood, and spent his whole life buying more apartments, more houses in the same neighborhood for students. That's it. He made a fortune out of this small, tiny circle of competence. And I want to conclude this video with another advice. It doesn't matter the size. The size of your circle of competence doesn't matter at all. What matters is you stay inside. You know where your circle of competence is and where it ends. It's very important. A lot of investors fall into this trap of thinking something is inside their circle of competence. So that's in a curiosity circle, but actually it's not inside their circle of competence at all. For example, they read one book, they think they know everything about this industry, and then the stock falls, the industry enters a downturn, and then they panic, and then they don't really understand what's happening. I've seen this happen many times, actually. So the advice here is to really challenge your understanding of the industry. And I would say only staying inside your simple circle of competence of your job, your colleagues, your industry, and the companies that you know very well because you are a customer of these companies. I would say if you stay inside your circle of competence, you can't be wrong. I mean, you know these companies quite well. You know the industry, you know the margins, you know the competition, etc., etc., etc. That would be very interesting to only stay here for 50 years. This is how you can make the most alpha because your understanding will be quite advanced, I would say. And investing, because of the beauty of this game, you don't need to know everything about every industry. You can make a fortune only staying inside your small circle of competence. It's a mistake to want to expand your circle of competence at any cost. I would say most of the time, it's better to reinforce your small circle of competence and to go deeper into the companies you already know, rather than expanding into the curiosity gap, into a curiosity circle of competence that you're not really sure of. So this is how I think about the circle of competence. You just stay inside and you just focus on companies you're really familiar with.
If you like this content, I have an investing coaching program. In this program, you will learn a complete investing process. You will learn how to find good stock ideas, how to properly value stocks, when to buy, when to sell, so that you can build a strong portfolio with great companies. Additionally, in this coaching program, you will have access to my personalized guidance for long-term results. We will do weekly calls where we analyze stocks together, and you will have access to my private number available 24/7 for full support. If you have any questions, I'm here to help. Click the first link in the description below to get more information. You will get a short video that explains how everything works completely for free. No need for your mail address. Just click the first link in the description and I'll see you on the other side.